All right, another kind of modifier issue that I'm going to talk about is the issue of split infinitives. You might have heard this term before. An infinitive is any verb that starts with the word to, like to think, to eat, to walk, to speak. Splitting an infinitive is when you put a modifier in between the word to and the verb. So in this case, to avoid is our infinitive, and we put a modifier, if possible, in between those two words, to and avoid. So it splits the infinitive. Now, traditionally, this has been seen by grammarians and English professors and such sorts of people as very, very bad and always, always wrong. More and more, it's one of those grammar rules that is becoming a little bit obsolete. People don't pay as close of attention to it anymore. I would say if you know that you're writing for a very strict audience that would care about that sort of thing, then you should try to move that modifier either before the infinitive or after it. So in this case, we've moved the infinitive or the modifier all the way to the end of the sentence. The patient should try to avoid going up and down stairs if possible. You could put it here, the patient should try, if possible, to avoid going up and down stairs, whichever sounds best. But the point is, it doesn't come in between that infinitive verb. Unfortunately, there are situations where there's really no other option but to split the infinitive. Here's a good example of that, this first sentence. Several U.S. industries expect to more than triple their use of robots. There's really no other place you can put the words more than except right there. You can't say expect more than to triple. That's a little awkward. Expect to triple more than, obviously that doesn't work at all. You could say something like several U.S. industries expect to triple their use of robots and then some, or something like that. But it's really not that great of a revision. So in this case, I would say, because it's so difficult to try to move this, just leave it. Splitting an infinitive is not the worst thing ever in terms of grammar. People do it all the time. Obviously, there's a very famous split infinitive here from Star Trek. So it's been used before. Let's take a look at a couple of examples here. Lucy posted warning signs to not only inform the public of the risks, but to also reduce her own liability. So here we have two split infinitives. To inform is one infinitive, and it's being split by the modifier not only. And to reduce is an infinitive being split by the word also. So the question to ask ourselves is, can we move those modifiers and not split the infinitive without making the sentence be too awkward? So let's try. Lucy posted warning signs not only to inform the public of the risks, but also to reduce her own liability. That seems to work, and it is not awkward, and it fixes the split infinitive problem. So that's probably a revision that I would go ahead and make on that sentence. Here's another sentence. More research is needed to effectively evaluate the risks posed by volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. The infinitive here is to evaluate, and the modifier is the word effectively. So pause the video for just a moment. Ask yourself, can you move the word effectively to anywhere else in the sentence that would preserve the meaning and not sound too terribly awkward? All right, if you had some trouble doing that, you could have said more research is needed to evaluate effectively the risks, but it is a little bit awkward. I would say if this were me and I were writing this sentence, I would just leave it there because it's makes it confusing and awkward. If you say evaluate the risks effectively posed by volcanoes, then that makes it confusing, like what is being posed by volcanoes. I think I would go ahead and leave that one there. All right, again, pause the video and take a look at sentences 3 and 4 here. They don't have split infinitives. Instead, these are practice sentences for the earlier part of the lesson. In sentence 3, the word only is our modifier. See if you can find a better place in the sentence for it that's more precise. And in sentence 4, the word not is our modifier. So ask yourself, is it that they do not return, or is it something else that is not? All right, in sentence number 3, the thing that is only, the thing that is being limited by this word, this modifier, is 40%. That's the thing that's not complete, that only should be referring to. So a better place for that word is right here, only 40%. Matthias had taken notes on only 40% of the material. It's not that he only took notes, as opposed like, oh, he only took notes, he should have, I don't know, rewritten the entire book or, something, discussed it with a friend. Taking notes is not the thing that is incomplete. 40% is the thing that is incomplete. So that's where the word only should go. In the fourth sentence, it's not returning that they do not do. They do return. The thing that they do not do the thing that is not is the word all, probably. Not all salmon return. Some of them do, but not all of them. That's my guess as to the intention of this sentence. We could say they return to the precise stream where they were not spawned, but that seems unlikely. I think probably the best place in this sentence would be right here. Not all salmon return. Some of them do, but not all of them. In a lot of these sentences, the reader can figure out what you mean, but when you start dealing with more complex topics, more complicated topics, the reader might be confused if the modifier is in the wrong place. So it's good to be able to evaluate that and make the right decision. Part 3 of this video will give you one more opportunity to practice what you've learned so far.